So, hi, my name is Eric Vale, and I'm here. Sorry I'm running late, but it was, well, I was running late. Deal with it. My flight was yesterday. So, yeah, I've got plenty of hours to flight me, and I feel a whole lot better about that because I hate flying.
How are you?
I'm fine. Super. Eric's doing great. Eric's happy to be here. Eric's thrilled he didn't have to leave his home state to go to a convention. That's very nice. I could have driven here if I wasn't lazy. I am. So I'm here. It's a nice small crowd here today, which is great. It's a little more intimate. That's lovely. I'm assuming it's because it's Friday, it's early in the day, a lot of people are still in school. Suckers. Good. Everyone should ditch school. No, gosh, no, don't say that. That's a terrible thing to say. No, see, here's what happened. I said, I saw my son. My son is 23 years old, he's a senior at the University of North Texas up in Denton. He's a theater major for some stupid reason. And he comes home with a 4.0 every semester. He either makes the dean's list or the president's list every semester. He's super intelligent. He's a double major in theater and history, actually. And just aces all of his classes. And my wife and I have got to be either the best parents in the world or the worst parents in the world because we're like, dude, every once in a while you've got to go out. You've got to study at a bar with a beer in your hand. You actually have to live a life. You can't just hide in your apartment and not socialize and only study. You've got to actually live a little bit. It's all about balance. You can't just do one thing all the time. You've got to balance your life out. So don't think that I'm saying, dear God, skip school, kids, don't go to school, drop out, all that kind of stuff. No way. I'm just saying a healthy balance in life is a good thing to have. So, we clear? I'm not encouraging delinquency. Right? Good? Excellent. Okay. So, this is the Eric Vale Talks About Stuff panel, which is why you've already got me on one tangent. I'm stuffing already. So, there you go. I'm assuming that you guys were going to have some questions. Is it easier for me to stand down here, or would you like me on the stage?
Anywhere you like. Wherever your friends wants to be.
What? What about the people in back? See, this is funny. You go to conventions any place else and everyone's like, on the stage, on the ground, do this, monkey, dance, get in the box! You do something in Texas and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. No, we don't care. It's all good. It's too hot to think.
Exactly, right? I agree.
So, who has a question? Yes.
What's your favorite Hetalia?
I haven't watched any Hetalia episodes. Okay, let me ask you this. Who has a job? Hey, you get the next question, so you don't have to get your hand in the air. Remind me in just a second. Okay. So, raise your hands again. Who has a job? All right. It's easier when I say, who has a food service industry job? All right. That doesn't count. Thank you. Where do you work? You work at Chili's. All right. So I love Chili's. Well, sometimes. You know, my daughter loves Chili's. We go to Chili's, we eat at Chili's. It's great. Chili's is great. They serve good food, reasonable prices. It's a great place to take your family because generally everybody can find something to eat. Okay? So, if you were working at Chili's and you are eating, or you're working at Chili's and it's a full-time job and that is your job right now and you're working, 40 hours a week, You're on your feet, you're eating their food probably in between shifts if you're working a double, or, you know, you've got a little station in back where you can throw down a little snack, you know, something like that. I've waited tables before as an actor, of course, I know. So here you are, you're busting your butt. Thank you so much, oh my gosh. Thank you. I want you to be comfortable. Do that. Go for it, I don't care. I'm easy. All right, sure. So you're working 40 hours a week at a food service industry job. You're slinging burgers at Chili's. You're eating the burgers in the back room so you can stay on your feet, so you can keep hustling burgers out in front of everybody. You're throwing those ribs out in front of everybody. You're gnawing on a rib in between your shifts. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the week, on a Friday night, where you finally get your night off, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna take a shower, I'm gonna call up Becky, I'm gonna call up Samantha, I'm gonna say, hey ladies, it's girls' night, let's go out, let's go to Chili's. Who does that? Nobody does that. Why would I? Hey, I'm gonna go into the booth, I'm gonna record on Hetalia all week long. I'm gonna do nothing but live and breathe anime. Keep in mind, I also directed anime and I wrote over 50, I was a head writer for Funimation for over a decade. I wrote over 50 episodes, or head wrote over 50 episodes of shows. And it just becomes a blur after a certain period of time. You do that for 40, 60, 80 plus hours a week. At the end of the day, I don't say, you know what I really want to do? Let's pop in some anime and relax. No, that does not happen. You do something else. You do anything else. You go swimming, you go to the park, you go to a bike trail, you go to the theater, you take your wife out of town to a mountain cabin where there is no electricity. You do anything in the world that's not your job. So, when people ask me, what's your favorite episode, what's your favorite line, you know, these kinds of questions, and I don't really have much of an answer, there's a good reason. And it's not because I'm a jerk, and it's not because I don't like what I do. It's because at some point, you just gotta check out. And I think it's reasonable, you know? For anybody who has a job that at the end of your work week, you just want to walk away from, so that at the beginning of the next work week, you're refreshed enough to keep doing it well. It makes sense. All right, you have the next question. My favorite part about playing Sanji is probably the fact that I got to play a cook. Because I'm a cook myself. I love to cook. It is my relaxing place. My son noticed a couple years ago, he's like, man, Dad, when you're really stressed out, you seem to really relax. Once you're in the kitchen and you're chopping up the food and you start working, you know, I can't really drink as much as I used to because I got, you know, migraines and alcohol don't really work. But like in the kitchen, I pour myself a glass of wine, throw out the vegetables, throw out the meat, sip on some wine and work in the kitchen, and it's just very relaxing and fun. And it's kind of like art, only at the end of it, you get to eat it all. Which is awesome, and you know, you learn a lot in the kitchen. It's also a very social place, especially in my house where there's, you know, a fair amount of people. You know, I got my wife, I got 3 kids, and 2 of my kids are older, 20 and 23, my youngest is 9, so it's a very social house. And we'll all be in the kitchen, the older kids having some wine with us, talking about our days, talking about what we're doing. Everybody in my house, we have an artistic household. You know, my 20-year-old girl is the girl who did all of the artwork for the cards that you see on my autograph table. So she drew everything. She's an artist. And she participates in some theater, the theater we run back home. My wife directs theater, and she was a dancer. Of course, you guys know what I do. And my son is a theater major and a singer, mainly. And then my youngest, my 9-year-old, is learning how to draw and doing a very good job. So we'll stand in the kitchen, we'll talk art, we'll talk all of this stuff. I'll chop up some stuff, cook, and then all of a sudden, here we go. I get to play a guy who is a cook and a Superfly ladies man, and I'm also that. Well, I would say a lady man, because my wife wouldn't like it very much if I was ladies man. I probably wouldn't have much of a home to go to. I would have a very nice couch. So, yes, I'm a one lady man. Who else? Question? Yes.
Despite all that, it doesn't stop you from disliking your job.
Oh, is that a question? Like, do I dislike my job?
Yeah, like.
No.
Just like, you know, you live really like all the time at your work, so.
No. None of that has me disliking my job. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The only way that I can, it's all about immersion, you know? If I were to work on anime voiceover all the time, nonstop, and then go home and watch anime nonstop, and that's all I did all the time, at some point, I'm gonna burn out. And then my job falls apart, and then I'm not going to be doing it well anymore, and I won't have any perspective. So here's the thing about being an actor that makes performing interesting. You don't learn how to give good performances by watching other people give good performances. You learn how to give good performances by watching other people. Period. So you go out in the world, you hang out with your friends, you hang out with your family, you learn what other people are like, you engage strangers, you people watch in public locations, go out to restaurants, go out to the theater, you know, travel, spend time with whoever. But if you are recording anime all the time and then going home and watching anime all the time, it's an isolated environment and the creativity will become stifled. So while it sounds like the opposite, it's not. It's the more disconnected I am from viewing my work, the more I can pour into actually doing it. You know? So if I'm also not somebody who really likes to watch myself. You know, it's not somebody, I don't really, no, my voice doesn't really sound odd to me. You know, I can watch my performance, I can listen to a performance of mine, and I can critique myself fairly. I can say this works, this doesn't, this is good, this is bad. And it doesn't freak me out. But I also know that, you know, it's kind of self-indulgent for me to sit there and go, I am handsome. Boy, my voice sounds so sexy. You know, I can't do that. You know, it's watching me or listening to me, I just can't do it. Okay, who else? Yes.
Can you talk about how growing from a voice actor into being a writer and being a director, how that progression happened?
Sure, yeah, the progression of in anime in particular, doing voice acting and then going into writing and directing. So at Funimation it went like this. I got cast as Trunks. I was voicing Trunks for about 8 months, I think. I think that was about the timing. Maybe a little bit longer. Hold on. Maybe it was a year-ish. And then John Bergmeyer, who was at the time known as the script supervisor at Funimation, but he was a writer. He and I were friends, and we were talking, and he said to me, "Oh, I'm having trouble. The studio is ramping up production, so I'm having difficulty getting these scripts written." And this is just two buddies chatting. And I said, "Well, I'm a writer. You know, I've written some things." And he goes, "Really? Oh, well, show me what you've written." And I literally had a screenplay that I'd written in my backpack. So I pulled it out. I'm like, "Here." And he's like, oh, okay. And he took it and called me the next day, and he's like, "Well, let's give you a couple of test scripts of Dragon Ball Z to write." So I wrote 2 episodes of Dragon Ball Z, and then he hired me to write a few more, and then he hired me to write a few more. And then I started writing for Funimation regularly. And then a little while later, Funimation came to me and John and asked us to restructure the writing department a little bit, and at least I think that's how it happened. And we restructured so that it was a head writer system, a little bit more like the way studios do it, where they had 3 head writers. And that was me, John Bergmeyer, and another guy named Andrew Rye. And the 3 of us were the head writers. The properties were given to us. We would hire writers to work for us, and we would distribute the shows to those writers. And then we would write scripts as we could and edit the scripts that came to us. So it was a little bit more of an assembly line process. And during that process, because the studios were growing at Funimation, and we had more properties than we could handle, they needed more people in the booth to record stuff, and I said, "Hey, I can direct also." And they said, "Great, get your butt in that seat and direct some shows." So I sat down and started directing, and I can't even remember why, but after doing that for a little while as well, I stopped directing, focused more on writing, and then due to some corporate changes, I stopped writing and started focusing more on acting and writing other things like feature film projects and stuff, which is what I'm writing now. So I don't work in anime anymore in any other capacity than acting these days. I wrote and produced a feature film called Chariot, which came out a couple years ago. It is still available in a couple of outlets you can find, probably on iTunes, probably on Amazon, all streaming right now. You can't find any physical copies of it. And then, because of that, I've written a couple of other things. I wrote a horror film this year for a producer in Los Angeles, and that's in pre-production right now. And I am right now writing an action film for a director who lives here in Texas, and he just directed a couple of action films. He's a good guy. Yes. I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. I know what you're talking about. I did play America.
What was the best part of playing America?
The best part of playing America is lying to people like you that I didn't play America and you not getting the joke at all. So, honestly, the best part about playing America is that America is very, very close to my personality. It's not much of a change from the kind of person that I am. And what is funny is that it has allowed me the ability to come to conventions and kind of be really the person that I am. And people think that I'm kind of putting on a character, and they're not really sure where the line is. And that amuses me. So oftentimes I can just be kind of a jerky punk in an amusing, fun way for me, and people are like, ha, ha, ha. And you can always see the look in their face. They're like, is he serious? Or is he joking? I don't get it. And then they walk off confused, and that is priceless. It's like street theater, and I just get a huge kick out of it. So, one of my favorite things. So yeah, you were just the victim of that, and I apologize, but not really. Yes?
Do you think Trunks had like more of a backstory? Because I know there's some story that he was, but
So the question was, do I wish Trunks had more of a backstory because his character is kind of And the answer is, the check clears either way. So, the people who are clapping have the biggest debt in the room. Just for the record. No, I mean, I know Trunks' backstory. As an actor, it's my job to find out what his backstory is, to develop it, even if it's not on the page, even if it's not actually right there in front of me. It's my job to really, really, really develop it. You know? Yeah, I put it together in my head. I did the research on the character. I knew what his backstory was. I knew everything that happened in his life before he appeared. So it didn't bother me. I'm sorry that you had a hard time with it. Anyway. All right, who else? Me! Yes, you. How come they don't put Dragon Ball Z on Netflix? I don't know. That's a good, yeah, that's right, they should. Totally, I agree. Why isn't Homeland Prime anymore on Amazon? I don't know. I started watching it the other night. I was like, all right, finally, I'm gonna watch Homeland. Everyone talks about it, I hear it's a great show. I watched the first episode, my wife got sick, and she's laying in bed going, "Ugh," and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start watching Homeland, hit play, watch the first episode, and I'm like, this is incredible! Awesome, hit play on episode 2, and I gotta pay for it. I'm like, this was Prime, like a month ago. All of them were free, and now I gotta pay for them? This sucks, man. Why did they do that? Me neither, I don't know. It's a bunch of crap, man.
I guess you could go back to the monk for tech years.
My new favorite person. Yes, yes. You're learning. So there's a million reasons. There's a million reasons. Not the least of which has to do with things like contracts. Netflix is an interesting animal. I know a lot about Netflix because of my film background and being a producer. So I can tell you that the way that Netflix structures deals is really, really good for some things and not really good for others. And I cannot speak for Funimation, and I cannot speak for why they do or do not do certain things. But what I can tell you is what I know about Netflix, and that their deal structures vary drastically. And oftentimes, they don't want to engage in a certain type of deal with a series that may be confused. For example, Dragon Ball Z has 2 series. You have DBZ and DBZ Kai, which are virtually the same show. One is just a re-edit, basically, okay? Now, Netflix might not Again, total speculation, and not speaking for Funimation at all, and not speaking for Netflix. But it's quite possible that they could look at these two shows and not know which one to pick, not know which one to put on, and it could be a conflict of them, you know? And there's just a million details in distribution contracts in certain regions that could eliminate that type of streaming service for certain series and movies and all that kind of stuff. So it all comes down to business. It all comes down to very, very detailed, just this minutia in contracts that could keep that kind of thing from happening. So I don't really know. This is basically the short answer. Okay, who else? Yeah. A writer? When did I know I wanted to become a writer? I wrote my first story in 7th grade. It is framed at my house. It is 1 page long. And I wrote it for an English class project. And my teacher read it and she was like, you know, I got a few, it was like English history sort of thing. And I got a few, no, that's wrong. It was a history writing assignment. And all the other kids in the class turned in like crap. And I turned in this 1 page story that told this actual story. And she came back to me with only one note that I used the term carpetbagger in an incorrect way, right? But she was just impressed that I even threw carpetbagger in there. And I got an A on it. She gave it back to me, she loved it. My parents were super impressed. They're like, how can you do this? You know? I like to make up stories. So that was fun, and then that was 7th grade, and then 8th grade, I wrote my first long-form story. I tried to write a movie. Bought Sid Field's screenplay book, telling you how to write a screenplay. And I still have it at home. And I wrote the screenplay. And I'll be damned if it's not still a good story that nobody has made. I couldn't shoot that script now because, you know, it's an 8th grader thinking about what adults are like, which is hilarious. But it's a good story, and someday it might actually make a good movie. So. It was around then, 7th or 8th grade, when I was doing those 2 independent writing assignments. I was like, I can do this. And I never stopped writing. And I remember my dad telling me, he's like, because I would talk to him about stories, and he would say, and I would say, I'm working on this thing, and I'm working on this thing. And he's like, you actually have to finish something. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I actually have to finish it. And he's like, that's what I'm saying, and I know. I was like, I know. I'm talking to you about it while I'm writing it. I'm not talking to you about it when it's done. And he's like, I know, I want you to finish it. It was the weirdest conversation. Because I'm like, I'm talking to you while I'm in the middle of writing it, not when it's done. If it was done, I would just hand it to you. And he was like, oh, okay, I get it. Because my dad and I had this really weird relationship. Because when I was 10 years old, okay, here's the thing. My dad played football for A&M, all right? Played football in high school, went to college, played football for A&M, married his high school sweetheart, and when his firstborn son came out of the womb, what is that firstborn son gonna do? Play football! You know, I mean, look, I'm built like a football player, you know? So here I come out, all of my baby pictures have me holding footballs or baseball bats or baseballs or soccer balls, and from the second I could move, I was kicking a soccer ball in a soccer team or playing t-ball or whatever, and I hated it. Hated every second of it, and for whatever reason, I would every single time, if it was basketball, if it was t-ball or baseball, or if it was soccer, I was always on the losing team, and I was always the worst player. Just like when I was in band, I was always last chair. You know, none of these things worked for me. So here I am with my dad, and I'm 10 years old, and my dad's home alone. It was 1984. For the record, in the summer of 1984, something great happened. Footloose came out, The Karate Kid came out, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out, Ghostbusters came out, Beverly Hills Cop came out. Guys, talk about a great year for movies. And that's just a few. The list is insane. Go look at the list of movies that came out in 1984. So, I go see Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's what I want to do. I can't be an archaeologist because I'm not that smart, but I can pretend like I'm an archaeologist really, really well. So, I went to my dad and I said, Dad, I want to talk to you. I'm 10. And he's like, oh, okay. And my dad, for the record, is the coolest, nicest, most fun-loving guy in the world. Everyone who meets him thinks that they just met their new best friend. So he sits down at the kitchen table with me. He's like, all right, buddy, what's going on? And I looked at him and I said, I hate sports. And it was like somebody stabbed him in the heart. And he goes, oh, okay. And I said, I hate sports. I don't ever want to play another sport for as long as I live. Please do not make me play another sport ever. I hate it. All of it. And he goes, okay. What do you want to do? I want to be an actor. 10 years old! And he's like, okay. All right, so I don't know how you're going to be an actor. We live in Beaumont. We live in Beaumont. And he's like, all right, I won't put you in any more sports. We didn't put me in any more sports. We lived in Beaumont for just a little while longer, not much longer. Right after that, about a year later, we moved up to Dallas, right outside of Dallas, in Plano, actually. And lived there for a year, or it was about a year or two later when I could finally take my first theater class, and I could finally start learning about it and reading all the books and everything. And then my freshman year of high school, I got cast in The Bad Seed, and my dad came to see the play. Now that time period between me telling him, hey, I hate sports, everything you stand for is stupid, basically was what he heard. And then coming to see me in that play, those few years was basically him walking around me like this. So after about 3 years of that, he comes and sees me in the play my freshman year. And afterwards, he walks up to me and he goes, I get it. All right, you're an actor. Cool. And never looked back. And to this day, he's like the #1 fan, biggest supporter. And it's great. It's great to have a family like that. So it's been pretty cool. But you know, the earlier on you can learn what you want to do, the more time you have to refine those sorts of things. You know, it's not easy doing what I do by any stretch, but it's a hell of a lot easier when you've got when you've got family who supports you, even when they're walking around you going, what the hell is wrong with this kid? They can still support you. Okay, who else? People who haven't asked questions. Okay, I'm going to give you with the thing in your hand.
What are your thoughts on the Trump and Taylor Moon crossover couples relationship pairing?
I don't care. I'm sorry. That's like somebody asking me about shipping or something. I'm like, shipping? I don't know. Yeah. You're putting something on a carrier, putting it over to China, or they bring it over here. I don't know. Pairing trunks with Sailor Moon? I'm a 41-year-old grown man with 3 kids and 2 of them are in college. The last thing in the world that I'm going to do is get online and go, I can't wait to look at those pictures of Trunks and Sailor Moon together. I bet it's really cute. I love that. Honey, get in here! Isn't this just the cutest couple you've ever seen? We're gonna print this out on our laser printer and we're gonna print it on the wall. We're gonna print it and it's gonna be so adorable. You're sweet. Thank you for laughing at me. You're awesome, because some people hear me say stuff like that and they're like, Jake. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is the thing. I can do this in Texas. In Texas, people are like, hey man, whatever. We got a sense of humor. We can laugh at ourselves, right? You go to other states and people are like, nerd rage! Oh, buddy, calm down. It's just jokes. It's just jokes. So I'm just joking with you, sweetheart. I love you. You're best. All right. Who else? Somebody else. Yes. You. Well, both of you. And ladies first. The advice I give to people who want to be a voice actor, want to pursue that, is don't pursue being a voice actor. Pursue being an actor. It's not one or the other. You either want to be an actor or you don't. Nobody chooses to be a voice actor. That's just a misconception. And if you want to be an actor, you want to be an actor. And you either dive into it all the way or you don't, because it is not easy, it is not fun. It is something that you do because it is the only thing that you do. It is something that you do because when you're 10 years old, you look at yourself and you go, I have to do this. It's the only thing I can do. And no matter how many people, I'll tell you a story here in a second. No matter how many people tell you you're an idiot, you're a fool, you're no good, you're terrible at this, you will never make it. Your whole life, people will tell you that. No matter how many times they tell you that, there has to be something inside of you that believes in you more than all of that negativity that will push you down that road to success. And it's not success, it's not like naming lights on a marquee, big movie star success. It's what you deem successful. And what I deem successful is work. As an actor, I work. If I'm working, I'm a success. If I go home at the end of the day and I'm tired, I'm a success. That's how I judge my success as an actor. So what I would recommend to you, if you want to get into this, is decide what you want. Are you wanting to be a voice actor because, and I don't say this in a negative way toward you, but do you want to be a voice actor because you think that it's going to be easy just standing in a booth and not necessarily having to put on clean clothes that day or shower, which is true, just for the record. That is a perk. But do you want to do it because of that? Or do you want to do it because there's something inside of you that needs to be fulfilled and this is the only way to do it? And if that's the case, then you want to be an actor. And the only way to do that really, the way to start is to find a stage. The stage is where acting began, it's where acting still starts. And I tell everyone, if you want to be an actor, you're going to have to find a community college. You know, it's the easiest way to begin for anybody. It doesn't matter if you are a kid who's in school right now, it doesn't matter if you're 15. You can find a community college and hop on a stage. Unfortunately, the arts are getting all of their funding pulled from them in public schools. So there's not a lot of theater programs out there anymore, but there are a lot of community theaters. So if you don't have a theater program at your school and you're young, you can find a community theater and you can hop on that stage, and that can teach you a whole lot. And it can certainly let you know if you want to do it or not. So do that, and then decide, hey, do I love this so much so that I want to keep pursuing it? And if so, then start taking classes, maybe at that theater. Start taking online classes, read books, and then take weekend workshops. There are traveling weekend workshops that go everywhere. You can do that. There's, I mean, y'all are close enough. You could get up to Austin and take some weekend workshops up there, and they are stellar. Taught by very famous actors, and it's really, really good. So that's what I would recommend. Find a stage somewhere, get on the stage and just come loose and have a little bit of fun. Try that first. But don't go after voice acting solo. I didn't do that. I mean, I've been acting, you know? I just happened to get an audition, like every actor gets an audition. Everyone seems to comment on the fact like, oh, you got lucky. I didn't get lucky. You know, I started acting when I was 12. And then when I was 26, I got an audition at Funimation while I was a professional actor, so to speak, but I was professionally acting as a college student while delivering pizzas. Lucky? No, it's just, I networked, you know, and I got an audition, like every other actor gets an audition. It's just hard work pays off. You know, find a community theater, get on the stage, have some fun with it. Acting should be fun, first and foremost. All right, and you were next.
Out of acting, like acting in Vale, which song has been the most challenging?
Which role?
No, which song has been acting?
I don't know. Every job has its own individual challenges. That's hard to say. Everything as a freelance worker is challenging. I would say probably the most challenging job I have is as a writer. Because as an actor I can figure things out easier because there are more resources available to me if I'm working on a character. Because as an actor, almost 100% of the time, somebody else has done all of the work of writing the character, putting the project together, hiring me, and putting me in the right place and time to deliver the performance. As a writer, I'm sitting there going, okay, so okay, here's what happened. On the plane on the way here, I'm writing this action film right now I told you about, okay? Here's what happens. For 3 days, and as recently as yesterday on the plane, for an hour, I'm staring at my computer and I'm sweating because I'm like, okay, so Jason and Assad are in the van and they're heading this way and they've got the other van following them. Perfect. This van's gonna blow up when it gets to this location. Now these guys are in Montana. Weinberg is in a federal building in Boise, Idaho. Somehow, I have to kill Weinberg before these guys get to Haley, Idaho. How do I kill him? Okay, so do I send a missile? No, these guys wouldn't have access to a missile. Do I send another van? Why would they have another van? I've already blown up 3 vans. It wouldn't make sense that they would have 6 vans. Okay. Do they fly a plane? No, that's insulting. Okay, what do I do? This has been going on for the better part of a week. This one thing that I'm trying to do in an action film, which is basically just a whole bunch of guys running around shooting guns. It's like, that's the whole story. It should be simple, right? But it's not that simple, you know? And I'm making it up. It's totally made up. This isn't real. So I should just be able to go. Missile falls out of the sky, blows up the building. Done, moving on. But it's not that simple because I've structured the whole damn script up already, and I'm like, I don't know what to do! So right now, in the middle of this whole screenplay, it's like action, 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 action. Weinberg blows up. Action, 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 action. And I keep staring at Weinberg blows up, and I'm like, okay, I've got a whole screenplay that happens before that, a whole screenplay that happens after that, and I have no idea how to fix the middle. It is frustrating as hell. Anyway, okay. Who else has a question? What was it like doing Tokyo Ghoul, considering all of the gore? It was fine. I didn't have to deal with a whole lot of gore. It was mainly like two or three scenes for my character. It wasn't bad. But I like doing the gory stuff. I'm a huge horror film fan. So the gory stuff is a total blast for me. Love it. All right, who else? You have not asked one. Right. So what's it like to write a script for an anime? Okay, so have you ever stood in line at a bank? Have you ever stood in line at a bank for 47 hours? Have you ever stood in line in a bank for 47 hours in Japan? That is kind of what writing an anime script is like. It's very boring, it's very confusing, and you just want it to end. Yeah, okay, so you want to know the logistics of it, not the emotion. All right, I get it. Okay, so the process is this. You receive the materials. The materials are a translation, which is a direct translation from Japanese into English, okay? Which means it's very broken English and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, okay? So you get that. And then you get a copy of the episode, right? Usually on a DVD, or maybe a digital copy. And then you know, put up the digital copy, and then you open up the translation, and then the digital copy of the episode is time coded. You have to time code the episode to the beginning of each take, whether that is a reaction that the actor is supposed to make, a fight, or a grunt, or a burp, or whatever. And then also time code every line, every time they speak, okay? And you have to do that for every line and that every moment in the script. So that is the time coding part, which is tedious as hell. And then you have to go back through and import all of, or this is how I do it, you have to import all of the dialogue. So you copy and paste the translation into the script so that you know where all of the lines belong in this new script that you have created. Then you have to go through and write all of the dialogue so that it matches the animation that exists already, okay? Then you have to go back through and make it sound natural. And that's pretty much the process. So it's an assembly line kind of process. It's very tedious, and it's very, very difficult. And people certainly don't give those writers enough credit for making those scripts sound good and natural and fun, and particularly in the comedy shows, because there's two types of shows, okay? One of the shows is Case Closed, okay? I'm sure some of you have seen Case Closed. Any show that is a mystery is odd, because especially Case Closed, there were episodes or movies that were so culturally specific to Japan that the mystery did not translate into English at all. So making that make sense in English was a lost cause, sometimes. Some of them did work. Then there's comedy. What makes sense in English, or what makes sense in Japanese, doesn't make sense in English. Because when you translate Japanese jokes into English, all of a sudden, the punchline comes first, and then the joke happens. So you're like, oh, okay. So then you've got to reverse the joke. But when the translation happens, so that here comes the translation, the punchline is first, and then the joke happens, and then your job is to reverse it so that you tell the joke, and then the punchline happens, then all of a sudden, it doesn't work on screen. So at that point, it becomes the writer's job to say, okay, what is, in this moment, in this show, what is tonally significant, what sounds appropriate, what is right for the show, and what can I say that is different, and make it work and not piss people off. We had an incident about that last week with prison school. Anybody? Who knows what I'm talking about? 3, 4 people, right. So yeah, something like that happened last week. And it's like, one of our writers got dogpiled online because of a line that he wrote, because he didn't stick to the Japanese, and it's like, you guys don't know what he goes through. You guys don't know what it's like sitting there alone in a room, working, doing everything that I just detailed, and then getting to that one piece of dialogue that doesn't work and doesn't fit, and you're like, I have to change this because nothing is working. So this guy changed it to something that ticked off a few people, and everything exploded, and it was really hilarious. So, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, let's do you first. Sorry. Yeah, do. Do I have my own collection of stuff at my home that I work on? I do not anymore. I did, over the years, I did acquire a whole bunch of, action figures and this and that and all that kind of stuff. But over the years, I've taken them to conventions and given them to charity auctions. So I don't have anything anymore. Also, my daughter broke a lot of things. So, she pulled Trunks' arms off. Quite a few times. Just for fun. Yeah, it was great. All right, yep.
So, honestly, the first thing is that I'm doing like clear from your hair. So when people just trash like the dogs and all the writing, I hate that. They don't know what you guys go through to try and
Okay, so she's upset that people trash the dubs and whatnot because she doesn't know what we go through. Oh well. Doesn't bother me at all. I wouldn't be standing up here if I didn't have the thickest skin in the world. Have you searched for my name online? So many people hate me. Tumblr thinks I'm the worst human being alive.
Actually, the Viviana ranks higher than you at the moment.
Oh, as worst people, he and I trade top position on Tumblr from time to time. It's like, look, man. So, I mean, look. No, I don't care. I can't care what people think about me. You know, I don't go online and read what people think about me or my performance or this or that. My job isn't to do that. My job is to act and then go home and take care of my family. What? So she says, so it doesn't hurt my feelings if they trash the stuff that I worked so hard on. No, because the whole concept of anyone hurting my feelings doesn't make sense to me. I'm in charge of my feelings. They can't hurt my feelings. No one can hurt my feelings except me. They're mine. You can't touch my feelings. It's insane. That whole concept is insane to me. My daughter said that to me. She said something like, so-and-so hurt my feelings. And I'm like, how? Well, they said this and this. I'm like, sounds like your problem. Somebody said something to you, and you decided to get upset about it. And she looked at me and she was like, oh, you're right, I did. I'm like, yeah. Because what you can do is what I do, and I'm trying to curb my language for the room, but it goes something like this. I'm gonna replace a couple of words here, just for the youth in the room. Hey, I think that your voice acting is terrible, and that your dubs are the worst things to ever happen to anime in the world. And I can say, go brownie yourself. Because at the end of the day, I go home to a nice house and a wife who loves me and 3 kids who love me, and that's the only thing in the world I care about. So your opinion about my job has never and will never affect me in any way. And I'm certainly not going to get my feelings hurt about it. You know? I'll get my feelings hurt if my kids say that. You know? Or if my wife says that. Those people matter. But some troll online going, you're stupid! You know? That's not a line. Yes? Yes. Okay, yeah, you got it. He goes, one last question. I'm like, yeah? I thought he had a question. Okay, I'm gonna take the young lady in the very, very back. Stand up and scream. Yes!
Do it! If you finding like acting, would you have a plan B?
What?
If you
Come here.
If you didn't go into acting and writing, would you have a plan B?
I do have a plan B. Everyone should always have a plan B. So you can go sit down. Thank you. If I didn't go into acting and writing and producing and everything that I do, what would I do? What would my plan B be? So a couple of different things. As you heard earlier, I love to cook. I might have done that. maybe. I'm not sure. I've been cooking my whole life. My mother is a stellar Southern cook, and she taught me how to cook when I was very young. And she's still rocking it out, so good to her. So it might have been that, but the truth is, I probably would have been a geologist. I know, weird, right? You're like, what, huh? Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to me either. And this is the thought that I will leave you all with, okay? We all have dreams. We all have ideals of what we want to be in life. The truth is, we don't get to choose what we are. And we don't get to choose what we're good at. And we don't get to choose who we are. The best we can all do as individuals is know who we are, know what we're good at, and look at it and recognize it and exploit it to the best of our ability. So, when I was in high school, I was already fast-tracking theater and all of that was great. And then I took a geology class in 9th grade. And I'm a terrible student. I suck. I made terrible grades, no matter how hard I studied, and I really tried. I would fail things that I had tutors for and stayed after class for. Things just don't stick in my head sometimes. And then I took a geology class, and I aced it. I could not study for a geology class and make 100 every single time. And aced geology, and I took geology every semester in high school. All the time. And my professor is like, you're gonna be a geologist, and you're gonna be the best geologist ever. And I was like, okay. And I took geology in college. I was almost a geology minor. And again, aced it. I don't know why geology made sense to my brain, but it did. I didn't pick that I was good at geology. I didn't pick I was good at this. It just worked. So that's what I'm leaving you with. You don't get to choose what you're good at. Find out what it is. Let it choose you and follow it. Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all coming to my family. Y'all take care.